On the morning of March 27, 1995, I walked up the steps of my office on Via Palestro in Milan. I was 46. I had a new girlfriend, a yacht, and a name that was on handbags in every city on earth. I didn't see the man at the top of the stairs. He shot me 3 times in the back and once in the head. I died there, on the steps of my own office. It took the police 2 years to work out who paid him. When they did, the answer was almost too tidy. It was my ex-wife. But that's not the part that should interest you. Here's the part nobody tells you. By the morning I was killed, I didn't own Gucci. Not 1 share, not 1%. My family had already lost the company, every last piece of it, 2 years before someone decided to have me shot. The bullet wasn't how we lost the empire. It was just the full stop at the end of the sentence. To understand how I ended up dead and broke on those steps, you have to go back to my grandfather and a hotel in London. The way the family told it, in 1897, a teenager from Florence named Guccio Gucci, my grandfather, took a job at the Savoy. Porter, lift attendant, dishwasher, probably all 3. And every day he watched the richest people on earth walk through that lobby. He didn't watch their faces, he watched their luggage. Because when you carry other people's bags, you learn what the guests never notice. The bag tells you everything. Who's rich, who's pretending, who's old money, and who bought it last week. He came home to Florence with an idea people thought was mad, that the bag itself could be the status symbol, not what's inside it, the bag. In 1921, he opened a little leather shop on Via della Vigna Nuova. And then, this is the part of him I understand best, he invented us. He made up a family history, said that Gucci's descended from Florentine nobility, saddle makers to the aristocracy, practically Medici. None of it was true. His own father made leather goods in a workshop. But it worked, because luxury was never really about the leather. It's about a story you can buy your way into. My grandfather understood that before he understood anything else. He built the whole house on a beautiful lie, and honestly, so did all of us after him. The first crack in this family showed up before there was even a fortune to fight over, and I think about it more than any of the rest, because it set the rule we all followed. My grandfather had 4 children who lived, 3 sons, Aldo, Vasco, and my father, Rodolfo, and a daughter, Grimalda. When Guccio died in 1953, the company went to the 3 sons, split equally. Grimalda got nothing, not less, nothing. My grandfather's position was that women shouldn't own any part of Gucci, and when he died, my father and my uncles upheld it. She took her own brothers to court. She lost. I want you to sit with that, because it isn't just a sad footnote. It was the founding rule of my family. The company is a prize, and somebody always has to be cut out. Once that's the rule, you shouldn't be surprised by what we did to each other later. We were just doing to ourselves what we'd already done to her. For about 20 years, it was glorious. I'll give my uncle that. Aldo was the salesman, the visionary. He opened New York in 1952, then London, Paris, Palm Beach, Tokyo. The products became icons. The bamboo bag, invented because there was no leather after the war, so they bent bamboo from Japan into handles. The horse-bit loafer, 1953. The green-red-green stripe, lifted straight off a saddle girth. Jackie Kennedy carried one of our bags so often we just renamed it the Jackie. Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn. By the 70s, we were arguably the most wanted name on earth. My uncle Aldo owned half. My father owned the other half. And Aldo, generous or clever, I still can't decide, shaved off a small piece for each of his 3 sons, 3.3% each. Remember that number, 3.3%. That sliver is about to blow $100 million company apart. I had a front row seat. Eventually, I lit part of the fuse myself. My cousin Paolo wanted to be somebody. He had ideas, cheaper lines, more licensing, the Gucci name on more things. His father, my Uncle Aldo, said no, over and over, in public. So, in 1980, Paolo announced his own label, using his own surname, Paolo Gucci. And the family sued him for using the family name. Think about how insane that is. We had become a family that took its own members to court for being named Gucci. Then came the board meeting. Florence, 1982. It turned physical. Paolo pulled out a tape recorder to catch what was being said, and he left that room bleeding. So he did what a wounded man holding 3.3% does. He went to the American tax authorities, and he handed them proof that his own father had funneled some $11 million out of the company and dodged millions in tax. In 1986, my Uncle Aldo, 81 years old, the man who built us in America, went to federal prison, put there by his own son. I watched all of this. I told myself I was better than it. I wasn't. While my uncle's side tore itself apart, my half of the family moved. That's where I come in properly. My father died in 1983. His entire stake, half of Gucci, came to me, his only child. And I looked at what we'd become and saw a brand we'd cheapened. I wasn't wrong about that. Aldo's licensing had put our name on so much product that the magic was leaking out. Reportedly, 22,000 different Gucci items. You could buy us at a duty-free counter. It made me sick. So I made a deal with Paolo. Back me and I'll buy your shares. Together, we stripped his father of power. And then, of course, Paolo turned on me too. He tipped off the authorities again, this time about me. Said I'd forged my father's signature to dodge inheritance tax. I fled to Switzerland ahead of an arrest warrant. Convicted, later acquitted. Added up. Father informs on son, son informs on father, cousin informs on cousin. All of us suing all of us splashed across the newspapers, while the actual company, the thing that made the money, sat there unattended. That's the truth. I can admit now that it's too late. We weren't running a business anymore. We were running a war, and the war cost more than the business earned. Here's where it stops being their fault and starts being mine. To fight my own family, I needed money. So in 87 and 88, I sold a big stake, just under half, to InvestCorp, a Bahraini firm. The family was livid, but we'd made it inevitable. Then, in 1989, I took full control. Finally, my company, my way. I'd restore the luxury, kill the cheap lines, make us untouchable again. There was just one problem. I had no head for business, and my taste was very, very expensive. By 1993, we were losing more than $22 million a year, negative net worth, suppliers at the door, payroll going unpaid. So, in 1993, I sold my remaining 50% to InvestCorp, around $170 million, and that was it. That was the moment it ended. 72 years after my grandfather opened a leather shop in Florence, not one share of Gucci belonged to anyone named Gucci. I was the one who signed it away. 2 years later, I was dead on my office steps. My ex-wife, Patrizia, was convicted of arranging it. She served 18 years. She once said she'd rather cry in a Rolls-Royce than be happy on a bicycle. I gave her plenty to cry about long before that morning in March. And now, the part that still stings, even from here. The moment my family stopped owning Gucci, Gucci became extraordinary. InvestCorp brought in 2 men, Domenico De Sol to run it, a young designer named Tom Ford to dress it. They bought back the licenses, killed the cheap products, rebuilt the exclusivity we'd spent 30 years destroying. Within 6 years, the company was worth over $4 billion. InvestCorp had bought the whole thing for about $245 million and walked away with more than $1.6 billion. Today, Gucci belongs to Kering in France. In 2022, it did over $10 billion in revenue. The company was never the problem. We were. My grandfather, my father, my uncles, my cousins, me. Take the Guccis out of Gucci, and it turned out to be worth a fortune. The Vanderbilts lost their fortune by spending it. My family lost ours by fighting over it. And I think our way is more common, because a feud doesn't feel like waste. It feels like justice. Every single one of us thought we were the one being wronged, and every one of us had a point. My grandfather cut out his daughter. My uncle blocked his son. My cousin informed on his father. I moved on my uncle. There's no villain in my family. That's exactly why we made such a perfect machine for destroying what we built. The name is still on the bags. It's worth more than it ever was in my lifetime. It just doesn't belong to us anymore. If any of this got to you, subscribe. This whole channel is about how great fortunes get built and how they come apart. And tell me, since I can't answer it myself now, whose fault was it? My grandfather for teaching us to cut each other out? Aldo? Paolo? Me? Or was a family like mine always going to end up exactly here? I'll see you in the next one. I'll be watching.